Saints potentially have their next head coach. The Super Bowl is this weekend. So much trade rumors going around the league, and some trade rumors for the New Orleans Saints as well for some key players that we potentially would be trading away. All of that, of course, will be talked in this video. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hayden Brewer. Welcome to the BrewCrew channel. Let's get into the video. First, we're going to start off with what I started off saying in the video with Kellen Moore is going to possibly be the next head coach. Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, is planned potentially to be the next head coach after the Super Bowl. He, of course, is in the Super Bowl with the Eagles, so we could not officially hire him because of him still playing or him still coaching in a game in the Super Bowl, but it could possibly happen after the Super Bowl, is that we are rumored to potentially get him. It is rumored, it is potentially, nothing's really official, but he could possibly definitely be the next head coach for the New Orleans Saints. And it does still leave a lot of questions, as he's mostly been an offensive coordinator most of his coaching career. So what would that mean for us, with him coming in as a first-year head coach mostly? Mostly, of course, like, what would drafting look like? A lot of people are saying that quarterback is like one of the things that we could potentially be drafting with, of course, the help of Kellen Moore, with, of course, how his offensive scheme works, even though we do have Derek Carr, we have Spencer Rattler for his second year, who was really good as a rookie in some of the games he played in, despite, of course, most of those being losses, but he played really good in big-time opportunities, in the opportunity he was given, and broke the rookie record for passing yards by a rookie in franchise history, beating Archie Manning. I was about to call him Archie Manning. So it's definitely a big question. I don't feel like we need to get a quarterback in the first round. A lot of people are saying we should get a quarterback. If we do get a quarterback, a lot of people are saying Jalen Milroe, but I don't like that idea, because to me personally, I don't even think Jalen Milroe is a first round type quarterback. I really don't think he had that good of a final year. I believe if we do a quarterback, I've heard it going around, and like I'm looking at it as well, Jackson Dart, the Ole Miss quarterback. Now, mostly because, like, if we can look at these stats, I will probably try to put it up on the screen, try to pop it up on the screen for you. We'll look at the stats, though, mostly for the past 2 years, from 2023 and 2024, mostly. For Jalen Milroe, he had an amazing 2023, 23 touchdowns through the year, over 2,800 yards and 12 touchdowns. He was great, really good. There was high hopes of him being a first-round quarterback and potentially a Heisman candidate. That kind of went down as he had a rough senior year. Now, yes, he did have a season high with passing yards, and did have an amazing rushing season with 20 touchdowns and 700 yards rushing. But that's mostly it. But also, he went 9-4 as a starter and really did not have impressive games as a quarterback. There is rumors that I've heard of potentially, like, if he does get drafted or does go to the NFL, teams could potentially see him transitioning to a running back position, but haven't really heard much on that, though. Now, I did say Jackson Dart, and if we look at Jackson Dart for the past 2 years, he's been a longer starter, as he was a starter in 2022, but as we can see, 2023 and 2024, he was pretty much better than Jalen Milroe. Now, I believe I have seen he is projected to maybe be a second or third round quarterback. He could be a first round quarterback, especially after his senior year, threw for 4,000 yards and 29 touchdowns, which is not bad. I believe he led the SEC. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC and was a key part to a back-to-back 10-plus win seasons for Ole Miss. For Ole Miss in 2023 and 2024. So I feel like the safer bet if we do a quarterback at some point in the draft, if we don't do one in the first round, which I don't think we should do, but I feel like Jackson Dart is the much safer route than Jalen Milroe. That's just my opinion. I mean, whoever Jalen Milroe goes to, that's just going to be their problem. But I feel like for a first round pick, we should focus on what we really need on. And I'm actually looking at, he was actually someone who was even in a mock draft I saw a while back, was, I think, Will Johnson. What's the Michigan quarterback name? Michigan cornerback. Will Johnson. I forgot his name. Will Johnson's his name. He's definitely probably my favorite for us to go for, because really of what I've been seeing the news for us at the defensive back position, like we lost Lattimore to the trade last season in the middle of the year, trading him away to the Commanders. And there's also other trade rumors for Tyrann Mathieu. Which I will get into in a little bit, but I feel like Will Johnson could be the safer bet for us to go first round. I know a lot of people also say maybe Will Campbell. Did I say his name right? He's the LSU lineman. Please do not tell me I accidentally said. Yeah, Will Campbell. I don't know why I thought I said his name wrong. I'm blanking out so much already. What a start to the video. I'm blanking out so much. Anyway, I mean, there's also that. I mean, he could definitely help out our offensive line, but I mean, we have some pretty good players on the offensive line. I mean, we have Ruiz, we have McCoy, we have Penning, and then of course we have Fuaga. If that, I don't really know that's how you say his name. His last name, the rookie that we caught last year, I believe made the all-rookie team. He was the bright spot, really, of our team, especially on the offensive side during a not-so-good season for us. So I feel like really you should go defense in the first round, then go offense, because I feel like for defense, really, definitely helps you, especially with the defensive back, which of course leads me into what I said earlier about a trade rumor going around about potentially trading away Tyrann Mathieu. But of course I actually saw when I was looking at this that it's potentially actually showing that could be traded, could be Tyrann Mathieu and Derek Carr, which I didn't actually know was also in the works of potentially trading him away. So I mean, the only thing I can think that they would trade him away is just for the salary cap, because we were paying him so much. But mostly this says by Bleacher Report's Gary Davenport saying two Saints veterans are like in the trade works for the Saints, Derek Carr and Tyrann Mathieu, to two AFC North teams, potentially trading Carr to Pittsburgh and then trading Tyrann Mathieu to the Ravens. So really that's just definitely interesting to me, especially for Derek Carr. Because I thought maybe we would have him for maybe another year or so. But we are definitely one of like the lowest cap spaces, so it definitely would help out, I believe, with the cap space a little bit. I mean, let's see, it does say something about this. Really, this says for Carr, though, the Saints, that Steelers fans will probably be upset, though. Because, of course, they have Russell Wilson, and they are planning on, I think, not re-signing Justin Fields and having Justin Fields go back into free agency. But then you're going to have two veterans in your quarterback room, so I don't really know if that trade is actually going to be official or if that's actually going to happen. I feel that's just a rumor. So is this one. For Tyrann Mathieu, it would definitely, this says right here, it would help a struggling. This says help to Baltimore to help a struggling pass defense, as you can see here. Help a struggling pass defense, which is definitely something the Ravens struggled on, especially this past year. So definitely would definitely help them, really. But what does this mean, though, for us? It mostly looks like we don't really get a play or anything. We just get some draft picks for 2020, for this upcoming draft, and for 2026. For 2026, what does this mostly mean for the money, really, is if we trade Carr before June 6th, the Saints saves the Saints $11.3 million. But if we trade away Tyrann Mathieu, saves only $16,000. And that's mostly it. The team would still be paying $11.3 million this year if they trade Tyrann Mathieu before June 1st, is mostly what it's showing. So I really don't know much about the money situation around everything, but it mostly looks to me, and it actually says here at the bottom, they might be better off holding onto him, and I definitely kind of agree with that a little bit, because it kind of helps you not have to worry about more defensive players, because we don't know how the defensive back room is going to look for the Saints defense, because I believe we have Paulson Adebo coming back, but we don't know, because I'm pretty sure he was supposed to become a free agent. His contract, I believe, was coming up with us, so we don't know if we would re-sign him. We also, of course, still have Lante Taylor, but then, of course, you have a young Kool-Aid McKinstry. So that's why I'm like, you go with maybe a defensive back with a young Will Anderson, maybe, to help you out, kind of thinning out or whatever that defensive back room, especially at the cornerback position, because of course you don't have Marshawn Lattimore anymore because you traded him away, and Kool-Aid McKinstry had a pretty good strain of games for the rest of his rookie year. He was a second rounder. You'd get Will Anderson, potentially make him an instant starter if you want to. I know that would kind of be a little bit of a risk, but that definitely goes back to what I was saying about Will Johnson. I don't know. Did I say Will Anderson? Will Johnson. I don't know why I keep saying Will Anderson. It's in my head for some reason. But no, Will Johnson, the Michigan cornerback, could be the best bet a little bit for the Saints in the first round to get him than to get Will Campbell or someone else, or a quarterback. If you do want to get a quarterback, maybe get him in the second round. If you need a quarterback that badly and y'all don't think Spencer Rattler would be a good fit, or at least try to see what Derek Carr will do under Kellen Moore as well. So, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. I personally think you should just go with Spencer Rattler and just have Derek Carr be the backup veteran, is mostly what I think. So, yeah. So some other news around the NFL. After talking about the Saints, can talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's happening around the NFL, and definitely a lot of stuff around the NFL. Also, like I said before, talk about the Super Bowl, but I'm going to kind of leave that for last. Some really big news that really came out earlier this week of two major big names in the NFL. First, Myles Garrett, a multi-time Pro Bowler, an All-Pro defensive lineman, and former Defensive Player of the Year, I believe it was a couple years ago, has requested a trade. I actually wrote down here that he became a free agent. He did not become a free agent. He mostly requested a trade. He did actually, I think, tweet out a statement or something like that, mostly saying that he has requested a trade. He mostly at the end said the goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It has always been to compete for and win a Super Bowl. And he says at the end, with that in mind, I have requested to be traded from the Cleveland Browns. So yeah. It definitely doesn't really shock me, though, that he has requested the trade, because it's the Browns, and he's definitely been one of the best players for the Browns. And the statement that he says, I'll try to show the statement. The one thing he says in the statement, he says the goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It was always been to compete for and win a Super Bowl. So mostly this is personally just me saying that. I feel like he knew that he was not going to win a Super Bowl with the Browns. The amount of times he was a key part in the Browns making a playoff appearance and a little bit of a playoff run, a couple of times over the past couple of years, definitely shows, like, I don't even know if he was even planning on staying with them in the first place. He's been with them for 8 years and all that, so it's definitely sort of not shocking. So he's not a free agent because he's still under a contract, which is through the 2026 season, which he would be at $19.7 million per year and will become a free agent in 2027. So he's not officially a free agent, as he's still kind of under a contract or whatever. I think it is. I don't know. I don't do well thinking about contract and money. That's just not the thing that I talk about a lot with football, but it is big. I have actually tried to see what could possibly be the best teams that he could potentially be traded for or traded to. A couple teams, like 3 or 2 teams I've seen or I've heard. I recently actually just saw the Commanders. It could be a big help for them. Of course, they were a playoff team. They went all the way to the NFC Championship game. And, of course, one of the statements he said he wanted to play and win a Super Bowl. He wanted to compete and win for a Super Bowl. And he wanted to do that. The Commanders could be definitely a good option for him since, of course, they have some high hopes to potentially make a run next year if they can. If they can next year, and it definitely would help the defense, as that was kind of the weak point a little bit of their team, was the defense, especially a little bit their defensive line. So definitely having Myles Garrett on that defensive line could definitely help them out. Definitely a big time help for them on that defensive line. Another team I've kind of heard, maybe the Bears is another team, and someone actually said a rumor to maybe be the Eagles. Because, of course, them being a Super Bowl caliber team, they always have a stacked defense. You put Myles Garrett on there, you probably have an amazing defense so far. Probably one of the best defenses in the league or in the NFL altogether. So that's just definitely a couple. There's a couple landing spots. Nothing's been official yet. Nothing has come out yet of where Myles Garrett will be going or where he'll be trading to. So yeah, the next big trade, not really rumor, but big trade news that came out was, of course, earlier this week. A statement came out from Cooper Kupp, wide receiver for the Rams, that the Rams were planning on trading him. They were planning on trading him immediately, is what I think he says, what people have said, what the Rams said about it. So it's definitely shocked a lot of people. Trading him away, a man who was a Triple Crown receiver in 2021. He was the big part of helping the Rams won a Super Bowl that year. He was the Super Bowl MVP, Offensive Player of the Year that year. Excuse me. So it's definitely shocking. I mean, after a pretty good couple years, and really, I mean, hadn't really done much before that, and really kind of the main reasons I've kind of seen is probably because you have the rising star of Puka Nacua right now, who is becoming an instant rising star at the receiver position. And, of course, you kind of see him falling off, and he has been riddled with injuries. And shockingly enough, looking at his career stats, as you can see, he's only had 2,000-yard seasons 2021, of course, was one of his best years, and that's, of course, when Matthew Stafford came along, and when they went on to win the Super Bowl that year. And so, yeah, so that's another thing. Like, nothing has been official yet of where he's been traded to or who he's going to be traded to. Some teams, people are saying, I think I saw the Commanders was a team people were saying, combining him with Terry McLaurin and having Jaden Daniels as a quarterback could be an interesting duo. I saw the Texans reuniting with a former teammate in the wide receiver teammate in Robert Woods and joining another young quarterback in C.J. Stroud. Could definitely be another landing spot for him. So I don't know who else I saw, but there's definitely other teams out there that are looking. I mean, I even saw some people say maybe the Bengals could trade for him because, of course, there is the news about we don't know what the Bengals are going to do with T. Higgins, if they're going to re-sign him, if they're going to let him go. I mean, T. Higgins is one of the top receivers for Joe Burrow, especially this past year. So, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see what the Rams plan on doing, and have to wait and see where Cooper Kupp and Myles Garrett end up going. So it's going to be an interesting next couple days, especially leading up to the Super Bowl. And speaking of the Super Bowl this weekend, this Sunday, the Eagles and the Chiefs. Now, I don't know if I want to talk much about it because I know not a lot of people are going to want to watch this Super Bowl because, A, it's the Chiefs and it's the Eagles again for the second time in 3 years. Of course, 2 years ago they matched up against each other 2 years. It was the story of the Kelsey brothers. I mean, nothing really big going into this. Mostly like who I got winning this, I really don't know. I'm leaning towards the Eagles winning it because I really don't know how that Chiefs defense is going to be able to stop Saquon. Really, I really, it's just been because of Saquon a little bit that this team has made it this far to the Super Bowl. I mean, let's just look at Saquon Barkley. Let's just look at the stats that he's had. I mean, just the overall stats he's had this year. Like I this has definitely been an unforgettable year that he's had. You never would have thought. I mean, he had an amazing rookie year, which I definitely remember that. I mean, let's just look at this is his career stats right now. I mean, as you can see, we're mostly going to look at the 2024 season right now. You see this over 300 carries, 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns. He has as well multiple 60, 70 plus yard runs that he has had. He's had an amazing postseason as well. I mean, freaking over 400 yards, 5 touchdowns in the postseason, 78-yard long touchdown, which is also his longest on, which is his longest on the year overall, 78 yards. He had a 72-yarder in the regular season. So definitely, I don't know how that Chiefs defense is going to be able to stop. And I mean, really, I mean, there's nothing much to say about what the Chiefs have really done because I didn't pull this stuff up in advance, so don't worry about it. So I mean, if we just look at the freaking Chiefs of what's happened this year, I can try to see if I can. There's nothing really much I can say really about what this year has been for the Chiefs. Okay, 2024 Kansas City Chiefs, AFC champions. So like looking at this, like mostly it's been because of their defense a little bit. They had the 15th best offense, which with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and really like what's been going on this year. I don't know. I'm kind of lost for words of like what to really say about the Chiefs because I don't like the Chiefs. I don't, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm going for the Eagles. And really, the only person I see in like taking control of the game to help the Eagles would be Saquon Barkley. And I can give it to you as well. I can say it as well. They have definitely the best defense. They're the number one defense. The number one defense in the Super Bowl has has had a really good, I believe it's a really good record in the Super Bowl. I don't know, but a number one defense like that. Of course, it's sad for me to say that because they have Zach Bond, who was a former Saint, and seeing that he's up for Defensive Player of the Year just makes you see that like that man did not get the opportunity he needed for the Saints. So the Saints did not give him the opportunity to be the player that he is being right now. So that's mostly what I think for the Eagles. I mean, for the Chiefs, their defense is the best. They have the fourth best defense, so it's going to be a defensive game of the top two defenses, of the potentially the top two defenses. I mean, for sure. I mean, let's just look at like this their stats, and of course we all know what happened for these freaking games. Like, you can say what you want to say, the freaking refs helping them, not helping them. Probably the Cincinnati game was probably the worst one, and the Atlanta Falcons game, with those two freaking pass interference calls or whatever the frick you want to call them. The freaking Tampa Bay game, losing the coin toss, only lost the Bills and the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos game was because they didn't have their starters because they were instantly going to the freaking playoffs anyway. And, like, I don't know why he would even be in the MVP race, because Patrick Mahomes didn't really have that great of an MVP level year. I mean, he freaking, like, let's look at that. Like an MVP level year. Like, he didn't even make the Pro Bowl. Well, it's probably because, no, he could still be a Pro Bowler if they make the Super Bowl. Right? I don't know. This shows that he's like a multi-time Pro Bowler, but like most of the years of him being a Pro Bowler, I don't know. I don't know the Pro Bowl rules really. I mean, the past 2 years, he's probably had his career lowest in touchdowns. He's probably had his career lowest in touchdowns, like freaking He's and passed for 3,000 yards. He just freaking had his career low in passing yards. And people are saying this guy should be an MVP candidate. Like 11 interceptions and 26 touchdowns and 3,900 yards, his career low. Like, no, I don't think so. Especially with freaking Joe Burrow, the Triple Crown man, Lamar Jackson, and Jared Goff, all three who've had better freaking seasons, including Josh Allen, who's the favorite right now by a lot of freaking fans. Like, I don't see Patrick Mahomes being the MVP. I mean, the awards are tonight, or the awards will be yesterday, depending on when this. But enough talking about Patrick Mahomes. I mean, the rushing was dominated mostly by Kareem Hunt when they re-signed him. Kareem Hunt, who was a former Chief way back then, but then got released, went to the Browns, comes back, and now is playing in a Super Bowl. Like, what a journey for that man. Like we look at receiving. Travis Kelce led the team in receiving yards. They had DeAndre Hopkins, but they got him like in the middle of the season. Xavier Worthy's had a pretty good year as a rookie. He's definitely been one of the bright spots. I mean, Travis Kelce, not one of his best years, but he's still in my favor as one of the best players on the team. They have a rookie. Like, it's mostly been their defense. Like, this says Travis Kelce did actually make the Pro Bowl, which is pretty good because he did have 97 catches and over 100 yards. I mean, 3 touchdowns. Tight ends don't really get like constantly double-digit touchdowns. Travis Kelce's definitely been one of them, but like just apparently this year he didn't, which I believe this is his career low, shockingly enough. This was his career low in touchdowns, and I believe his career low in yards. So, I mean, he still went on to make the Pro Bowl. He would go on to have career lows and still make the Pro Bowl, but Patrick Mahomes has career lows and he doesn't make the Pro Bowl.
What?
I don't know either. But it's mostly just been their defense. Like, I mean, reading the stats and looking at these stats, I can see why they're the 15th best offense, but yet they still found a way to freaking win games. Still found a way to win games and still found a way to get in the freaking gosh dang Super Bowl.
Wow.
I don't know, but again, I'm going with the Eagles because I think that defense definitely has a chance against this not good of an offense, and I believe definitely one of the key parts is going to be Saquon Barkley, and I'm going to go ahead and say I think Saquon Barkley will win the Super Bowl MVP if the Eagles win. Please, for the love of mankind, win. I can't handle a three-peat. I can't. I just can't.
No!
Alright, guys. Now with that out of the way, I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Comment down below who you guys think is going to win the Super Bowl this Sunday. Again, I got the Eagles winning it. But comment down below who you think is going to win. And also, probably comment down below who you think is going to win Super Bowl MVP as well. Now, with that being said and that out of the way, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified for upcoming future videos. And with that being said, again, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.